בשם השם נעשה ונצליח, שיעור תורה. ברוכים הבאים. We are back here on our Wednesday night, Stump the Rabbi, Baruch HaShem, our longest standing series with some extraordinary information that I am sure will help every single person that will listen from beginning to end. Well, of course, in the beginning, we're going to discuss some things in the Torah. And then after that, you guys can just go with questions after questions that BeEzrat HaShem HaKadosh Baruch Hu will give us the answers. Tonight's shiur is for the Refuah Shlema and Hatzlacha Rabba for Rav Ephraim ben Shulamit, Rabbanit Sarah bat Anat, Rabbanit Levana bat Sarah, Avi Mori David ben Nesriya, Imi Morati Doris bat Jora, and all of Am Yisrael and all the righteous Noahides that continue to learn Torah with us, publicize this Torah, and contribute as much as they can to help us continue doing all the wonderful things that the organization is doing, Baruch Hashem. We have a bunch of major projects at hand right now, some that are similar to others we've done in the past, some completely different and innovative that BeEzrat Hashem will have a lot of success. So we need as much of your help as we possibly can get, and BeEzrat Hashem will have a lot of hatzlacha. So we have just an update for everybody. That ordered the books, the new book that is the first book that our organization has, both in English and in Hebrew, both in the same book. The hardcover book for him and for her, the special sichot by Rav Ephraim and Rabbanit Sarah. This Baruch Hashem is going out like like wildfire. It's almost like it's free. Well, actually, it is. So, Baruch Hashem, we've had a lot of orders coming in faster than we could even imagine, and Baruch Hashem. So there's a little delay in getting all of this out there to you guys, but don't worry, everyone will get their books. We even had a school ask us to send them a bunch of books, Baruch Hashem, just earlier today, and then we have a bunch of other places that want to publicize this book. Anyone that opens the book immediately falls in love with not only the words that are in it, but also the beautiful pictures, and just the whole work itself has really been impressive, and is impressive for people. So Baruch Hashem for that. Anyone that wants to get a box of 20 books for their community to give them out to people, in the Jewish communities, whether it's in the supermarkets, the kosher supermarkets, or the Judaica stores, or the synagogues, or the kollel, YESHIVA, wherever you want to give it, you can go to the kiruvstore.org, KIRUV, store.org, and you can order yourself a box of that one. There are other books and USBs over there, which Baruch Hashem are also running low, as the stock is coming out faster than it's coming in. So order yourself some stuff, and BeEzrat Hashem get the extraordinary mitzvah of helping Am Yisrael get closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You can also donate over there, as well as donate on many of the other places, whether it's donate to us via YouTube or Facebook or our website, beezrathashem.org, or if you want to do a Tikkun Brit, before the Shovavim is over, this is the time to do it. You go to tikkunabrit.live, and you can do yourself a favor and do as many tikkunim as you could afford. But again, this is not only for the sake of helping a person fix their past, but also their present. And how could donating money help the present? This is part of one of the things that we're going to talk about tonight. As Parashat Terumah is famous for teaching us about how to manage money. Because if you look at the Torah, you see some unusual things that perhaps can confuse you. And then you go to the sages, and they confuse you even more. So, of course, we need the help of Shlomo HaMelech and the Chovot HaLevavot, and the Ibn Ezra, and some of the other great sages in the Gemara, to give us a hand, to help us understand how to manage money. Where in the beginning of the Parashat Terumah, we see that HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, V'ikchu li truma, which literally means, take for me a portion, like take for me a donation. Now, if you're speaking properly, then you would say, give me a donation, not take for me a donation. Now, of course, the sages teach that when you give for the sake of Torah, you're really taking, because Hashem rewards you. But what can we do that most people, even some that actually give, don't really believe that? How do we know? Well, the sages pick it up a notch. In the Gemara in Masechet Brachot, the holy Jewish sages teach us one of the most profound ideas that testifies of whether a person truly believes in HaKadosh Baruch Hu or not. Which is, the Gemara says, if you see your financials dwindling, your bank account goes lower. You had a savings account, you had a stock portfolio, Bitcoin, whatever you had, you invested in some stock that went up 50% and then it went down 50%. Your financials have gone down. You see your financials go down. Give more donations. Wait, hold on a second. Logically, mathematically, scientifically, and any other li, this doesn't make any sense. On one hand, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, take for me a donation, not give me a donation. Then the sages confuse us even more and tell us, you're losing money. You're having some troubles with your finances where your bank account is starting to make you worried. Give some more donations. Wait, don't you mean maybe collect donations? Perhaps you didn't get to that bad situation, but you don't need to collect donations. But certainly, giving donations, wouldn't that make the bank account go even lower? I was just complaining that the bank account was struggling. The bank account is almost on life support. You're telling me to give more? Isn't that the opposite? Here the Holy Torah is here to teach us. It's here to teach us, Rabotai Karim, it's here to teach us. Now, of course, the Holy Torah teaches us other things in this parasha. Teaches us other things. We have the Menorah that we're introduced to, the holy Menorah, the beautiful Menorah, where the Chachamim have a Macholoket on how it looked, whether it was based on Rashi or the Rambam, whether it was standing on three legs or it had a box-like bottom, which is what Onkolo said, it had a box-like bottom. Now don't worry yourself too much. Many Chachamim say it was both. How could it be both? Because anyone that followed the extraordinary series of, read the book by Rav Meir Eliyahu, Sheikhye, about the Klei Mikdash, the different tools of the Beit HaMikdash, and the historical and archaeological findings and discoveries, and a lot of different conspiracies involved in all of it, would have learned that many of the Chachamim actually say that there were multiple menorot, meaning that there wasn't just one menorah, there were multiple replicas made at the time of the Beit HaMikdash, and therefore it could have very well been both cases. In fact, one of the things that shows that there is one opinion is an archaeological proof that you can see in Italy over there. They still have it on the wall when, after they destroyed the Beit HaMikdash, Yimach Shimam, they actually they celebrated by making monuments, and on the monument they have in essence sculptures, types of art showing the Jewish people carrying the menorah, and the menorah is in essence agreeing with the shape of the box-like shape. But in other places we see that it's the other. So not to worry, both could be right, both most likely are right, meaning that since there were multiple menorot, then you could have actually seen both of them in the Beit HaMikdash. But we learn about this menorah, we learn about all of the different tools of the Mishkan, which was the Beit HaMikdash of the desert. Really, it's the holiest of all three. It's the only one that did not get destroyed, as the Gemara in Masechet Yoma teaches us that after they stopped using it, it was buried and hidden. And BeEzrat HaShem, when Mashiach comes, it will be unveiled. Whether it will be used again or not, I don't think so, because we'll have the third Beit HaMikdash, but certainly some of the things that we will see at that time will be extraordinary. And we learn all of these wonderful things, but in between the lines, and especially if we start reviewing some of the details of the previous weeks, we discover perhaps an unknown God. Why do I say an unknown God? Because it's the God of money that many people don't believe in. Now, you would say in today's world, when every second YouTuber tells you that he has become a millionaire by making some type of application or some type of self-help program or whatever they're doing in investments in real estate, everyone's a millionaire. Everyone is just literally so focused on chasing money that they've turned the saying on the dollar bill "In God we trust" into pretty much thinking that the dollar is God. But that's not the God of money that I'm talking about. Many people believe in money. Many people have turned money into God. But perhaps it's time that they learn more about the God of money. Because once a person learns it, they can no longer allow themselves to believe in anything that opposes this God of money. Now, in the Parashat Terumah, HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells Moshe Rabbeinu in chapter 27, in verse number 8, that everything that he's telling him to do, whether it's the menorah, the table, the mizbeach, all of the different mitzvot, he says, "Ta'aseh oto ka'asher er'a otcha ba'ar ken ya'asu." As you were shown on the mountain, so shall they do. Meaning, Hashem not only told him about these mitzvot, he showed him what they look like. And he says this multiple times, also in chapter 26, verse number 30, as you will have been shown on the mountain. So we see multiple times that HaKadosh Baruch Hu knew his creation and knew that sometimes we need to see proof. We need to see proof of concept. We need to see that what you mean in order to do what you want us to do. Now, if we go a little back, we track back a couple of parashot, we'll see that HaKadosh Baruch Hu was not kidding when he told us about the mitzvot and about the avirot. Where in Matan Torah, when we receive the Torah at Mount Sinai, in Parashat Yitro, in chapter 20, verse number 20, easy to remember, he says, "Lo ta'asun iti Elohei kesef ve'Elohei zahav lo ta'asu lachem." Hashem says, "You shall not make with me gods of money, gods of gold, shall you not make for yourselves? HaKadosh Baruch Hu warns us, as part of Matan Torah, as part of giving us the Torah, not to turn money into God. No. Not to turn gold into God. Not to go to a foreign God. So how could we say that there is a God of money? Hashem says, don't make money into God. Don't make gold into God. Don't follow that mentality of society that has abandoned their Creator and has worshipped its creation. After HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells us don't turn money into God, he clarifies what he means in the next parasha, Parashat Mishpatim, where he starts telling us about money management, business management, ethical management in business and money. In one of the mitzvot, in chapter 22, verse number 24, Parashat Mishpatim, he says, "Im kesef talve et ami, et ha'ani imach, lo tiye lo kenoshe lo tesimun alav neshech." When you lend money to my people, let's just say you happen to have a few extra millions, a few extra dollars, whatever you have, and you don't feel like going back to the construction business to make another few million. You don't feel like going back into the heavy-duty business that made you the money. You want to make easy money. Easiest money in the world is lending people money. You want to lend people money. They're going to do whatever they need to do with the money. And along the way, they're going to pay you interest. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, when you lend money to people, he's not telling you not to lend. He's not telling you not to lend. Hashem never says don't lend. You're not going to find a single place in the Torah where HaKadosh Baruch Hu says you're not allowed to lend. In fact, it's a mitzvah to lend. How about that? But you have to read the terms and conditions of lending. What's the terms and conditions? When you lend money to my people, to the poor person who is with you, he doesn't literally mean someone that's poor and is begging in the streets, waiting for somebody to give him $1. In essence, he's talking about anyone that's in need. It could even be a multi-million-dollar business that just simply does not have liquidity and needs liquidity in order to survive. It could be someone that's looking to expand their business. It could be somebody that needs to pay their mortgage. Whatever it is, someone in need. When you lend money to my people, when you lend money to Am Yisrael, to the poor person who is with you, do not act towards him like a creditor. Do not lay interest upon him. That's the terms and conditions. You have money. How do you have money? You say, I worked. I had a store. I was providing good customer service. I woke up at 6 o'clock in the morning. I got home at 10 o'clock at night. I worked like a dog for many years, and I saved, and I was frugal, and I made a few good deals. And I got myself a nice chunk of change. And now I don't want to work so hard anymore. I want to make some easy money. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says you want to lend some money because you have extra money. Fine. It's a mitzvah to do it. But it's not a money-making opportunity. Why? When you have a fellow Jew in your community, in your circle, that's in need of money, he needs to borrow money, Sure, you should lend him the money. It's even better to lend him money than to give him tzedakah, because he'll still maintain his honor. But it is certainly not a money-making opportunity. Why? You're not allowed to charge him interest. Wait, hold on a second. You're telling me I worked all of these years, I got myself some extra money, now I want to lend money so I can make money. Good, but you can't make money. Only half of your equation is good. You can lend the money because there's certainly people that need, but you're not going to make money out of it. Why? You're not allowed. A Jew that lends another Jew money, assuming both of them are Torah observant, lends another Jew money. If he charges him interest, he loses Olam Haba. Both of them get punished. The lender and the borrower get punished. And if there's a broker between them, he also gets the punishment. They won't be resurrected with the dead. The punishment is severe as severe gets. So you, my dear friend, that thought, wait a minute, I'm going to make some easy money by lending my money out, you're sadly mistaken. Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu clearly says, do not charge him interest. Now you're allowed to take collateral, but don't put your so-called customer, which is really your fellow Jew, in an uncomfortable position where he's missing things that he needs to survive just because he needs to provide you collateral. Now, here we see that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has a very different perspective of money than we have in society. Very different perspective. Why? Because many people are in the lending business. And they're relying on the fact, saying, okay, fine, we can't lend money to the Jew and charge him interest, so we're going to go and charge interest of the non-Jews. Shlomo HaMelech banned charging non-Jews interest. And in fact, as we've said in previous years and previous shiurim, some of Chachmei Yisrael, some of Gedolei Ador said that it is a wicked act that creates anti-Semitism to charge interest of non-Jews that are otherwise helping you by allowing you to live in their land. And anyone that wants to know some of the history and some of the other laws relating to it can go to my shiurim about cash advance and the lending money, which is not what we're going to talk about tonight. What we're going to talk about is really the God of money. When we see HaKadosh Baruch Hu first tells us, don't make money into God. And then he tells us in Parashat Mishpatim, if you already have money, you have to know how to manage it. And if you think that you can manage it by doing things that are against HaKadosh Baruch Hu, going into corrupt businesses like lending money with interest, or all types of illegal businesses, destructive businesses, predatory businesses, you're sadly mistaken. HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells us here that, yes, he gave you money. As the Gemara in Masechet Rosh Hashanah and Masechet Beitzah both tell us that he decides on Rosh Hashanah how much money each and every single one of us is going to get for that year. So he gave you money this year and last year and the year before and all the years that you've lived. He gave you different amounts of money. But you now need to know how to manage it. You can't just decide to go against the God that gave you the money. And therefore, we need to understand who is the God of money. Parashat Yitro told us don't go after the money to the point where you turn it into God. Parashat Mishpatim told us don't go and use that money that Hashem gave you and turn it into God by violating the Torah. Parashat Terumah tells us about the Mishkan. How is that going to help us about money? It first starts where HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, take from me a donation. How is this going to help me? Look at what happens after Hashem says, we got some donors. We got some donors. Am Yisrael, each one gives whatever his heart desires. Give whatever, you have free choice when it comes to money. Give whatever your heart desires. But don't think that I'm not watching. When we get to Menorah, we have some technical difficulties here. When we get to the Menorah, after we've gotten this money, we got the donations. Now Moshe Rabbeinu can go out there and get some gold, start putting some things together that HaKadosh Baruch Hu told him he has to do. The Menorah is one of them. And the details of the Menorah are extraordinary. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, Moshe Rabbeinu, make me a menorah like a world expert designer. It has to have these flowers and these buttons, kaftorim, and these specific knobs and decorative cups and branches. And it has to have designs on them. Oh, and by the way, it's about 3.5 tons of gold. And all of the gold has to be a single piece. Meaning you have to take a huge amount of gold, melt it all together into one big piece, and now mold it into, like people do with clay, into this menorah. Hammer it out and make this giant piece of 3 tons worth of gold into the most beautiful menorah the world has ever seen. From a single piece. Moshe Rabbeinu wants to do the will of Hashem. That's why he's there. But he tells Hashem, I can't do it. I don't even know how to do what you want me to do. I don't even know what it will look like. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, no problem, I'll show you. And he shows him an image of the menorah. Now Moshe Rabbeinu is even scared, more scared. He says, Hashem, that for sure I can't do. I don't have the skills to make these knobs and these flowers and these cups. I have no idea how to do this. Hashem says, no worries, Moshe. You got the gold? Get the gold, put it all together, throw it in the fire. I'll take care of the rest. Moshe Rabbeinu gets the gold that people donated, puts it into the fire, and lo and behold, HaKadosh Baruch Hu shows him how this gold transformed into the most beautiful menorah you could possibly imagine. But he says, Moshe, you did it. Now, between you and I, Moshe didn't do it. The Torah itself says, Moshe didn't do it. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't lie. He says, Moshe, you did it. How come Moshe Rabbeinu, he says, why is Hashem saying this? Says HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Don't turn money into God. Don't go into businesses that take the money that I gave you and make you look like you've turned money into God, even if you say you haven't. You want to know how to treat money? Look at my dear Moshe Rabbeinu. What did Moshe Rabbeinu do? He put the gold in there. Who gave him the gold? Am Yisrael gave him the gold. He had some gold. Everybody put some gold together. But who gave them the gold? I gave them the gold. And then they took part of the gold that I gave them, and they said, okay, we're going to give a piece. We're going to give a piece for the sake of the mitzvot. Then Moshe Rabbeinu just pushes this giant piece of gold into the fire. What a fire it was. Then I made into a menorah, but since Moshe Rabbeinu was the messenger that desired to do the will of HaShem, you know what? I said he did it. And that's how you know that Moshe Rabbeinu was the ultimate leader in every aspect, even in teaching us how to manage money. Where Moshe Rabbeinu here is teaching us, if you understand what HaKadosh Baruch Hu is trying to tell us here, you'll understand how to manage money. If you think that your idea, that your talent, that your job, that your customer, that your fortune, that your simply good deeds are what made you money, you, my dear friend, have turned different things into the God of money. But if you understand that HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells us, V'yikchu li truma, V'yikchu li truma, that the Chachamim are very careful to specify. V'yikchu li truma is in essence HaKadosh Baruch Hu telling us, He is the God of money. He is the God of money. There is no other God. He is the God of money. And the Chachamim teach us very carefully and precisely that HaKadosh Baruch Hu cannot ever be described as one who is receiving anything from us, because everything is His. The entire world belongs to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And therefore, the Chachamim say, V'yikchu li truma is in essence, you're bringing an offering, you're bringing a donation in front of me, not to me. So why does it to me? Because when you are using the gift that I gave you, the money that I gave you, the salvation that I gave you, in order to make more mitzvot, in order to sanctify my name, in order to publicize my name and my Torah, that means that you believe in me, not only as a God that created the heaven and the earth, not only as the God that can help you when you have no other choice, but you also believe in me to the point where you know that I am the God of money, where you know that Moshe Rabbeinu, all he did is show that he wants to do the will of HaShem. And therefore HaShem says, you showed that you want to do the will of HaShem, I'll do everything. You show that you want to do something in business, you want to go make a sale, you want to go build a company, you want to go make money, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, no problem. I'll make the money. I'll send you the customer. I'll make the idea that you had work out. I'll give you the idea. I'll give you the money that will transfer into your account. I'll do everything. You just show that you want to do something, and I'll actually do it. Now, how do you know that a person believes that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the one and only God, including the God of money? When you take the money that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave you, and you realize HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave me 100% of my money, HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave me 100% of my house, HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave me 100% of my life, HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave me 100% of my wife, HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave me 100% of my kids, HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave me 100% of everything that I have. When I'm giving 10% of the money that I have, the income that I'm getting, to publicize his name, I'm not giving him anything. Everything is his. He's the one that gave me. All I'm doing is I'm taking 10% of the 100% that he gave me and showing him, I know you gave it to me. And I want other people to know that you gave it to me. And in fact, I want other people to know that you give it to them too. I want other people to know that you are the God of money. I want other people to know that you are the God that gives us everything. So I'm going to take money that you gave me and use it to go and publicize your name so more people can know the same beautiful lesson that I know, that I learned from Moshe Rabbeinu. Trying to do the will of HaShem by putting this menorah together, but admitting that he simply cannot. And then HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, I know you can't. But I wanted to teach you a lesson. That everything you do, in reality, I did it. But I'm going to put it in your name. Why? You had the willpower to do it. You wanted to do it. So I'll put your name on it. The question is, what do you want to do? Is your will the will of HaShem, or is your will the will of a different God? Perhaps you've turned yourself into God. Now, Rabotai Yekarim, when a person has a clear understanding of who is the God that runs the world, they don't have a problem to use the money that this God gives them, the one and only God of Israel gives them, and use it to publicize Torah. And they don't have a problem in making the right choice of where is the best place to publicize Torah. They're not going to choose it based on what's most convenient. They're not going to choose it based on what's best for their reputation. They're not going to choose it on where they get the best deal or notoriety. They're going to choose it based on where is Hashem's name going to be publicized most. Now, on the other hand, the vast majority of society that is chasing their tail shows an image that they're succeeding in acquiring assets and money, despite the fact that they don't believe that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the God of money. They believe that their skills are the God of money. Their customers are the God of money. Their product is the God of money. The combination thereof is the God of money. And it looks like they're succeeding. They have cars and houses, famous. It looks like they're winning. Says Shlomo HaMelech, the wisest man of all, says Shlomo HaMelech, in Sefer Mishlei, the book of Proverbs, chapter 1, easy to find. You open the book of Proverbs, you're going to find treasure. Question is, what you're going to do with it. Says Shlomo HaMelech, there are certain people who hate knowledge. What kind of knowledge? Knowledge of Hashem. In chapter 1, verse 29 and on, Shlomo HaMelech says, they hated knowledge and did not choose fear of Hashem. They did not desire my counsel. They spurned all of my rebuke. Shlomo HaMelech says, I tried telling them that there's only one God, and He's also the God of money. He's also the God of your heart. He's also the God of your disease. He's also the God of your fortune. He's also the God of your bankruptcy. He's also the God of everything that you could possibly want. He is the one and only. But they didn't want to hear it. Said, nah, come on, no. I can do whatever I want. Leave me alone. I don't want to hear this type of stuff. I don't want to hear about a God that punishes. I'll pray to Him when I need something. Says Shlomo HaMelech, they hated knowledge. They don't want to fear HaShem. They don't want to fear punishment. They just want a Santa Claus. And therefore they hated the truth. They hated knowledge and did not choose the fear of HaShem. They did not desire my counsel. They spurned all of my rebuke. What will happen with these people? Says Shlomo HaMelech in verse 31, they will eat of the fruit of their way and they will be sated with their own schemes. What? What do you mean? You just said they hated knowledge, they hated the truth, and they're going to actually be sated? They're going to have Ferraris? They're going to have big houses? They're going to succeed? So why would they ever change? Patience. For their waywardness of the simpletons will kill them, and the contentment of the fools will destroy them. Says Shlomo HaMelech, you have to understand, HaKadosh Baruch Hu has a lot of patience. If you want to be wicked, and you want to turn your so-called talent, ideas, ideology, or whatever you think is really bringing you the fortune, if you want to turn that into the God of money, instead of the holy God that we have, that gave us the Torah, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will sometimes allow you to succeed in extraordinary ways. But don't think for a moment that that's a reward. It's the opposite. It's the opposite. But you're going to think that you're succeeding in your way because you're a fool. And therefore Shlomo HaMelech says the contentment of fools will destroy them. Why? Because the wicked people that are not following the ways of God will think that they're succeeding because of their houses, their bank accounts, and all of the other things that they find valuable. They will think that they're succeeding, and therefore they'll continue to act wicked, not realizing that it's only a matter of time that this success will lead to their ruin, because they'll become content in their ways. These fools that are going against God will be content in their ways, so they won't want to change. And that will ultimately lead to their destruction. And thereby the Ibn Ezra says, in the name of the prophet Jeremiah in chapter 12 verse 1, where he says, why does the way of the wicked prosper, and why are all betrayers tranquil? Shlomo HaMelech is explaining here, says the Ibn Ezra, that since HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the one and only God, is patient and does not immediately punish even someone that's a persistent wicked person, someone that's really an outright evil person, He won't punish him right away. His patience. He'll even allow these people to assume that they can continue sinning. They can continue sinning with no end in sight. To the extent where Shlomo HaMelech says in Ecclesiastes chapter 8 verse 11, the heart of man is full of evil because he's convinced that everything happens by chance. But this is the punishment of those that chose evil, where HaKadosh Baruch Hu will eventually bring the divine retribution. And ultimately the sinners, says the Ibn Ezra, will go to Gehenna. will suffer sufferings beyond their wildest imagination. You're going to say, wait, why didn't he give him another message to change? He did. He does. But they don't want to listen because they're convinced that since they've succeeded thus far, where they were able to buy a house that cost more than people make in a lifetime, they were able to buy a car that people could only see in a magazine or a poster, they were able to build a company that you could only touch if it's on the screen of your computer. They achieved such extraordinary success. How can it be that God is not happy with them? Perhaps he doesn't really care if I keep Shabbat. Perhaps he doesn't care if I eat kosher. Perhaps it's enough that I just give some donations to different random people or organizations that say they do good, and that's enough good. As long as I don't kill people or at least get caught for it, I'm a good person. Perhaps the Torah is no longer relevant. Chas v'shalom. HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave all of us a choice. We got the choice of Mount Sinai, and we've been given a choice each time we've been reincarnated and brought back to this life after we've made the wrong choice. After serving some time in Kafakela, Gehenna, or both, and eventually had the merit to be given another chance to fix something. Because apparently we did enough good of the Torah, good according to the Torah, that we earned ourselves another chance. But if somebody doesn't take that chance and take advantage of it, and in fact they do the opposite, they think that since they have money, since people listen to what they say, since it looks like they're winning, they can continue going against God without having any concern about punishment. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says that contentment of a fool will lead to his ultimate destruction. He thought that just because I gave him money, that meant that I was agreeing with his wickedness. He doesn't realize that I gave him money in order to give him a chance to publicize my name and thereby fix all of the mistakes that he has made in his life, in this life and the last one. I gave him a fortune because I wanted to give him a tool to be able to fix himself. And without giving him a fortune, he simply could not. You see, a person could live the life of Torah, do mitzvot, learn some Torah, eat kosher, but if he has an extraordinary bill of sins, such as making people sin, such as immorality, idolatry, stealing money, corrupt business, his traditional observance of the Torah and the mitzvot, of learning some Torah and doing mitzvot and kosher and celebrating the holidays, is not enough to fix the mistakes. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, I'm not going to put you in this world if you can't succeed in actually completing your tikkun. So what would I do? I'm going to give you the tools you need to complete your tikkun. Some people need an extraordinary mind so they can learn Torah at the highest level, so they can teach Torah at the highest level, so they can help people get closer to HaShem. So HaShem gives them that mind. Some people are given extraordinary skills with their hands, so they could write Sifrei Torah, so they could do mitzvot with their hands. Some people are given an extraordinary speaking ability, so they can publicize Hashem's name. Some people are given abilities in completely different fields that are beyond the norm in order for them to be able to succeed in a natural way without depending on some lotto or finding a treasure. So that way HaKadosh Baruch Hu can give them a lot of money so they could use that money to publicize HaKadosh Baruch Hu's name so they could complete their tikkun.
But what can we do that people think, oh, he gave me money because I'm a nice guy? No, he didn't give you money because you're a nice guy. He gave you money because you needed to complete your tikkun. He gave you money so you could actually get to heaven, not build yourself an imaginary heaven in this temporary world. And Shlomo HaMelech is telling us, if you think that there's any other God aside from the God of Israel, you're sadly mistaken. And the price is dearer than you can possibly imagine. In order to put everything into a perspective of what Shlomo has said, what the Ibn Ezra said, what Moshe Rabbeinu showed us, what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wrote for us, we go back 1,000 years to our dear Rav, the Chovot HaLevavot. And in chapter 9, in a section called Sha'ar Avodat HaElohim, the Chovot HaLevavot tells us a story. A story that puts everything we've learned into perspective. He says that there was once a people on an island, a very wealthy island, full of jewels and diamonds and gold and all types of things. But these people were strange people, and they had strange laws. And they decided that they're going to have a new king every year. How do they choose a king? They're going to bring an outsider. They're going to bring an outsider to be the king over them for a full year. Let him do what he wants to do. But after a year, they kick him off the island and he cannot take anything with him. Now, of course, they didn't disclose this to the king. They went out and they got some guy that was a fool. And he was happy to be king in this island. Wow, very nice. That's a nice job. How much you pay me? As much as you want. And this guy, wow, this is great. I want a castle. They built him a castle. I want the castle to be full of diamonds and gold and silver and all types of extraordinary paintings and statues and done. This place is great. I'm going to bring my family here. He has to go bring my family and in fact tell my family to bring everything I have over there. And they brought his family and everything that he had. And he keeps telling them, okay, I want another castle. And I want a golf course. And I want a fancy car. And I want all types of things. And I want to build a zoo in my backyard. And I want to have every watch over $100,000. And I want to have a very, very established investment account just for entertainment. And I want to have servants that will do everything for me, will put my shoes on, will brush my hair, will even help me when I'm in the room without a mezuzah. And he was having a good time, this fool. But after the year was done, he's woken up abruptly in the morning, and the people that were his servants just the day before and for the past year grab him and his family, put them all on a boat with a one-way ticket out of here. The fool is as miserable as can be. Not only is he no longer the king, full of jewels and gold and paintings and everything he could possibly desire, but he's now even worse off than he was before he got this gig. Because he brought everything he had into this to build a house over there in this temporary place. But of course, these people on this island with strange beliefs and rules had to replace the king. So they found another one. But this time, it was a wise man. And this wise man that was given this job was happy about it. And he was only a little bit, sad in the beginning because he wasn't sure, like, when am I going to go home? Like, no, don't worry. You can do whatever you want. Oh, I could build things here? Build. I could buy things here? Buy. Oh, this is interesting. Well, I'm going to have any limitation? No limitation. I could build an empire. Sure. Go ahead and do it. Bridges, tunnels, whatever you want. Sky is the limit. Well, this empire is going to I need some help. So he said, I need somebody that's not only smart, but I need somebody that knows the land. He knows the people, because I don't know them. I don't know these people. So he hires one of the people from the island, one of the wise men among the people over there. And he says, you are my main guy. I want you to help me. Get to know the people. Get to know the culture, get to know the rules. He says, sure, your wish is my command. So tell me about them. Who are they? What are they? And eventually, through conversation, he tells him, well, what about the kings? Where was the last king? He says, well, the last king was kicked out. Why? Well, that's the rule. What rule? Every year they change a king. They give a king everything he wants, but after the year is done, they kick him out with nothing to show for it. That's the rule of the land. As soon as the wise new king heard this, he was saddened at first because he realized that whatever he builds there is temporary. So he realized, okay, this is not forever, but fine, I can work with this. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to start taking some stuff that I have here, that I can get here, and put it in the life I'm going to go to. My old home. I'm not going to bring everybody here. I'm going to bring stuff there. He says, I want some diamonds. He got some diamonds. I want some gold. He got some gold. I want all types of things. And every time he got some stuff, he'd ship it back home. Now, on one end, he was a little bit having a difficult time just because he couldn't really enjoy himself while he's there because he's constantly worrying about sending stuff to the real house, the permanent house. So he couldn't really enjoy it. But the same token, the one thing that gave him salvation was the knowledge that eventually he's going to get there. And each day he worked on trying to find whatever treasure he could to send it back home. And after a year was done, the law of the land was implemented and he was kicked out of the land just like every other king before him. But instead of being sad that he's leaving a place where he was able to have pretty much anything that he wanted, although temporarily, he was much happier because now he was going to a place where he could finally enjoy all of the hard work that he did in the temporary world. The Chovot HaLevavot says, the fool and the wise man could be you, could be me. The choice is ours. It all depends on who you believe runs the world, which includes your bank account, which includes your health, which includes your time, which includes your life. If you believe that it's not HaKadosh Baruch Hu, then you've decided to be the fool. If you realize that it is HaKadosh Baruch Hu, then you'll understand now why the sages told us when one sees his finances dwindling, go give more tzedakah, more donations. Because everything is his. The reason why you would give more is not because he needs it. It's already his. The reason why you would give more tzedakah is to show him that despite the fact that he has decided to lower your finances, you are still 100% certain that everything is from him, and therefore you still want to publicize his name just as much as you did when you had more. When the customer comes, you know he sent it. When the product sells, you know he sells it. When you succeed or fail, you know he decided. The only decision that's in your hand is whether you will serve him by publicizing his name throughout the whole process. If you want to show HaKadosh Baruch Hu that you believe in him, it all starts with understanding that he is the God of money and not turning money into God. With that being said, BeEzrat Hashem, you will all have some questions that I'm sure you've gathered over the last week since our last shiur, and BeEzrat Hashem, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will give us the answers. TikTok, you guys could ask some questions also. What does it mean when Shlomo HaMelech said, despise gifts? And was he a prophet? So Shlomo HaMelech, saying that a person that hates gifts, it's interpreted in a couple of ways. The Gemara says in the Masechet Sanhedrin that there were women that would walk around immodestly, and in order to get the attention of people, in order to get a, let's just call it in today's terms, a sugar daddy. So the Gemara says that when people loved gifts, then it created more death, because they wanted money, they wanted more gifts, and therefore they were willing to act immorally as a result. And therefore the one that hates gifts desires life. That's one of the things that the Gemara teaches. The second thing is also understanding that when a person knows that everything comes from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, everything comes from HaShem, they don't necessarily want anything from anybody. They're not going to beg anybody to help them. They're not going to plead with anybody to join them. They're simply going to do the will of Hashem and let Hashem decide what to send them. They'll do what they say they're going to do. They follow the will of Hashem. If they have a certain job, they obviously do the job that they're supposed to do. If they don't have a job, they use whatever effort they have or ishtadlut that they have to try to find a job. And the point is that they don't go above and beyond the normal effort that's necessary to live in this world. They're not going to beg anybody or break any rules or violate the Torah just for the sake of getting gifts or getting money or getting notoriety or anything like that. They're always going to think of what does the Torah allow me to do, what does the Torah forbid me to do before they take any particular action, even if that means that they're not going to get the gifts. Why? Because they're not desiring gifts. They're desiring life. And life means they're desiring eternity by following the Torah. As far as the prophet, to my knowledge, Shlomo HaMelech was not a prophet. He had Ruach HaKodesh, but he was not he didn't give, he's not one of the 48 prophets that are noted in Gemara Masechet Megillah that's mentioned in the Tanakh, or 55 prophets, but 7 of them were women. He certainly had Ruach HaKodesh, but the father of all Ruach HaKodesh was his father, David HaMelech. And David HaMelech did not have prophecy. That's why he had to go to Shmuel. Shmuel was the prophet. So if David didn't have prophecy, needless to say, his son Shlomo did not have prophecy. Is an elderly man who uses diapers allowed to wear tzitzit? As long as the diaper is clean, meaning as long as he does not have fecal matter in the diaper and there's not a terrible stench coming from him, he could act normally. He could even put on tefillin. But if he has a horrible smell on him and he's not refuses to clean himself and so on, then it's better not to. But with tefillin. With tzitzit, on the other hand, he's allowed to wear tzitzit, and as soon as he needs to change, then he would change. Tzitzit does not have the same level of sanctity as tefillin do. And he doesn't necessarily need to be able to change himself, at least if he has somebody to help him, some nurse or something like that can help him. How can you help a Jew, a secular Jew who got brainwashed to believe in the Christian religion? Well, I have, different lectures that I've made over the years about the falsehood of Christianity in the New Testament, in anything that has to do with the New Testament, regardless of which religion it is, whether it's called Christianity or Catholicism or Messianic Judaism or Jews for Jesus. These are all different versions of Christianity. And we showed that the main document that they all rely on is the New Testament. And the New Testament is full of man-made errors that are inexcusable, that show that it's a false document. It's not a divine document. It contradicts the Torah, which is agreed upon by all three major religions, Judaism and Christianity and Islam. Even though the other two are false, still everyone agrees that the Torah is real because everyone relies on the Torah. It's obvious that the Jews rely on the Torah, but also Christianity and Islam rely on the Torah as the original book that they say, had a second version later on, which is their books, the Quran and the New Testament. So everyone agrees that the Torah is the truth, and which means that if you're saying that the Torah is true, and you're a continuation, that means that your book has to agree with the truth. So when you see that in countless places the New Testament has contradictions of the Torah, and things that are literally wrong, that a 5-year-old would notice, then you realize this is certainly not a continuation of the Torah, but rather is antithetical to the Torah. And that's why, according to Halacha, the Christianity is considered 100% idol worship. Now, I have a whole series of lectures about this. Rav Ephraim has a whole series of lectures about this topic. So anybody that wants to watch those lectures and be enlightened to see the truth about Christianity, which is that it's falsehood, and then realize that there's only one truth, which is the Torah. And what the Torah says, and not what the Christians say about the Torah, but rather what the Jews say about the Torah, both the written Torah and the oral Torah, then once they do it, they'll certainly transform their life. Whether it'll lead them to convert to Judaism or simply be righteous Noahides, which by definition is every Gentile is considered by default a Noahide. Question is whether they'll be righteous or not. To be a righteous Noahide, they have to follow the Noahide laws that are detailed in the Torah. To be a wicked Noahide, they simply ignore those rules and they live, a life full of idolatry or heresy or anything else that these other religions have. But the point being is that anybody that wants to know the truth, we have lectures in Hebrew and English, and some of them were even translated to Spanish, Portuguese, and other languages. So, Baruch Hashem, the information is available for those that are really seeking the truth. I heard a rabbi say that the meat chicken today is really non-kosher, even if it has certification, because the animals in the slaughter facility are maltreated. Is this true? Are Sfaradim allowed to eat Bet Yosef meat? Certainly, if someone has a kashrut that is relied upon by Gdolei Israel, that is a reliable kashrut, it's forbidden to say that their meat is not kosher. Whether by a rabbi or by anybody else. Anyone that thinks that there's no kosher meat or chicken available out there is simply mistaken and is actually saying a shemra on otherwise kosher Jews, which they'll have to be punished for, even if they're a rabbi or whoever they are. You can't just say and conclude that everyone that's in the kosher business is wicked. For a couple of reasons. Number one, you don't know that. Even if you saw yourself that there's 1 or 2 or 5 different places that do bad things, whether they sell you non-kosher meat or whatever it is that they saw them do on, that does not mean that everybody's like that. Number two, it's simply putting a doubt in people's mind unnecessarily that no one can live with. Meaning that if you don't rely on the kashrut of the meat, that means you can't rely on the kashrut of anything. And therefore, the only thing that you could eat is fruits and vegetables that you actually clean and take care of, and you can't pretty much eat anything else. Because you can't tell me that the rabbis in the kashrut of the meat are not reliable, but yet the rabbis of the kashrut of the chocolate, of the milk, of the the other products that people buy in a supermarket to make their soup, to make their seasonings, to make everything else, but they're reliable. How do you know that reddish type of ingredient that you're buying to put some seasoning? How do you know that's really a seasoning that comes from a plant and it's not really a seasoning that comes from beetles? You don't know, because they look the same. How do you know that the soup mix that you're getting is really all seasonings that are made of certain chemicals and vegetables, and they're not actually putting other things that are not kosher in it? You don't know. The reality is that a person cannot say that they could rely on a kashrut of candy, of pretty much every other product that you buy, to cereal even. You rely on not kashrut, but you don't rely on kashrut that says it's Bet Yosef, that says it's glat, that says it's kosher by a reliable institution. Simply, it's not a realistic understanding of the magnitude of such a statement, and quite frankly, it's a foolish statement. Again, if something has a sticker on it that says it's kosher, it doesn't necessarily mean that you should rely and put your life on the line for it. You could certainly verify, you could look into things. There are certainly levels of kashrut that are more reliable than others, but to just simply say nobody's kosher, unless you're living off of air, man, or vegetables and fruits, you simply cannot live. In fact, even the things that people think don't need kashrut, need kashrut. Why? Because the advancement in technology that has allowed us to preserve food for much longer comes at a price. You could have certain things that will last in one place, will last a few days to a week before they go bad, and you could have literally the same exact product last for months because of preservatives. Now, you can't tell me that this is not something that doesn't require some type of oversight. But yet, you rely on that oversight, but you don't rely on the oversight that is much easier to do, which is the kashrut of meat. It's much easier to oversee kosher meat or kosher chicken than to oversee the kosher factories that produce all of these other products. So it's important for a person to know that if there is a reliable kosher institution behind it, certainly you can and should rely on it. If it's an unknown institution or it's known to be unreliable, then you shouldn't eat from there. But to just simply say a blanket statement that everyone is not kosher is wrong. It's simply wrong. It's against the Torah, and whoever said it is not only sadly mistaken, but they're causing other people to make that same mistake. And I know several people that have made extreme decisions where they heard a famous speakers say such things. Oh, you can't rely on the kashrut. They're torturing the chickens. They're torturing the cows. There's no way that they could slaughter, 500 chickens in such a short period of time. One thing that most people don't realize is that not a single one of these speakers that speak about kashrut are experts in kashrut. They may know some things about kashrut, but they didn't work in kashrut for 20, 30, 40 years. Well, I spoke to experts. I spoke to the top experts in the field when I looked into the issue myself. I spoke to Rav Ze'ev, Rav Yaron Ze'ev, who himself was a world-renowned expert butcher that has slaughtered countless animals, cows, sheep, chickens in Argentina, in Uruguay, in Brazil. Literally, he was so good at it that they literally would ask him to come to different places around the world. And I spoke to him about it. And he said the things that people are saying is complete nonsense. He says they don't realize that once you become an expert in, let's say, for example, slaughtering chickens, you don't need as much time to know to slaughter a chicken like a regular person does, like they think you do. You could literally become like a machine and slaughter hundreds of chickens in a very short period of time, and every one of them is kosher. Without a doubt. Why? Because you not only know the laws, but you're also your body itself moves in a certain fashion, and it gets used to that type of movement. It's very, very difficult, but nonetheless, he says it's they think that because they can't slaughter, or they can't think of someone slaughtering a certain amount of chickens in a certain amount of time, therefore nobody can. They don't realize that there's muscle memory, and you certainly can. Also, there are certain places around the world that have better quality meat than others because of the weather, because of the surroundings. This is so it also makes the animal less problematic as far as kashrut. This is why, for example, there's a lot of the best places to get or that they grow they breed the animals, Argentina, Uruguay. These are places that are perfect for raising cattle versus, let's say, places like America or Israel or other places. The weather, the atmosphere, the place itself is much better. So many times when these few speakers are saying things like that, they're not familiar with a lot of this stuff. They may know certain laws, but they've never actually practiced being a butcher. And therefore, a lot of the things that they're concluding is not based on experience in the field coincided with knowledge of the law, but rather knowledge of the law and inexperience in the field. So one of the experts that I spoke to is Rabbi Yaron Ze'ev. Another one is Rav Gidon ben Moshe, one of the Gdolei Israel, one of the world-renowned experts in the field of kashrut. There is literally extensive knowledge that he has beyond this, our comprehension even about this particular field, and of course many others. But this is one of his areas of expertise. And we've learned, Baruch HaShem, we've learned from Rav Ephraim from him, we've learned directly from him about certain things in regards to kashrut. And again, both experts have said that this type of stuff is complete nonsense. To say that everyone that's slaughtering cows or chickens is it's not kosher and they're selling the world taref, it's complete shemra, sin, nonsense. You can't rely on it. You can't even believe it. It's forbidden to believe in. Now, does that mean that you should buy meat from everybody? No. Does that mean you should believe everybody? No. Does that mean that you shouldn't check? You should. You should check. But also know that you are limited with your knowledge. The average person, the most amount of knowledge they have is how the kosher symbol looks like. That's really the most they have. They don't really know what it means. They don't really understand what chalak bet Yosef means. They don't really know the difference between chalak and glat. They don't really understand the difference between. They just hear people say things. They hear people say things. So We actually have a lecture, we've spoke about this and explained different things, different laws of kashrut that the average person does not understand. But we explained it in a fashion that people can understand it. I can tell you this. I eat meat. Rav Ephraim eats meat. Rav Sharvit eats meat. I don't know anybody that is a Talmid Chacham who does not eat meat because of kashrut. Some people may not eat meat because of preference, but not because of kashrut. Now again, if a person has the means to have a private slaughter, meaning you can get the cow, you can get the chickens, you can get whatever animal you have, and you could also get an expert to come and slaughter the animal for you, that's great. The only problem with that type of equation is that unless you are a Torah scholar yourself, you're not going to know if it's kosher anyway, any more than what you can buy in a store. Because if he slaughters the cow, you don't have the knowledge, and the average person doesn't have the knowledge, unless he's learned in this field extensive amount of actually seeing slaughtering and knowing the difference, how to check the lungs, how to actually slaughter, doing all of these different things, how to salt the meat. So even if somebody has a lot of money and they get themselves a whole slew of cows, they get a farm to become their backyard, and they have somebody say, I'm going to be your butcher. I'm going to be your private butcher. Whenever you want to eat steaks, I'm here. Great. Reality is you still don't have the ability to know whether he's doing the right job or the wrong job. You have no concept. Why? Because you don't have the knowledge. Which means that whether you have the means to get private slaughter or you don't, you're still going to rely on somebody. You're still going to rely on somebody telling you the truth. So what's the difference between the guy that's working for you privately, which 99% of society cannot afford, or buying it from a store where there's a kosher body that is subject to laws and regulations, not just halacha, but actual legal laws and regulations? What's the difference? You have to rely on somebody. And you can't say, okay, you know what, so I'm just not going to eat meat. You can't do that either. Number one, it's certainly not the healthiest thing in the world to do. So, especially, there's holidays we have to eat meat. It's part of the holiday and so on. But aside from that, even if you say you don't want to eat meat, don't not eat meat because of kashrut. Why? Because either way you have to rely on the kashrut organizations that are providing you all of the food that you eat that's not meat. Everything that has a kosher symbol on it, what do you think? That kosher symbol is on it just falls from the sky? And just appears in the box? You have to rely on the kashrut of Coca-Cola if you drink Coca-Cola. You have to rely on the kashrut of your cereal box if you eat cereal. You have to rely on the kashrut of everything. And you can say, no, but it's not the same. It is the same. If this is poison, that's poison. If this is allowed, that's allowed. In fact, like I said, many have told me that are experts in the field, much more than I even telling you. Tell me that, honestly, it's more difficult to supervise the stuff that you see in a supermarket than the stuff that you see in a kosher butcher shop. Much more difficult to supervise. So, people make a big stink about this whole kashrut of meat, and they make a lot of mistakes by following this. And I can tell you for sure, if you're not eating meat because you believe these rabbis that are telling you that nobody's kosher, you are making a sin. You are believing Shem Ra, and you are making a sin. And you'll have to go to Gehenom for it. So, if you're not eating meat because you simply don't like meat, different story. Different story. But if you're not eating meat because of you think nobody's kosher, that means you don't believe Gdolei Israel. You don't believe the Rishon LeZion. You don't believe the Dayanim. You don't believe, in so many words, you don't believe that any Jew in the world is kosher aside from you and the rabbi that you heard this from. And if you two are the only kosher people in the world, I have two questions for you. Number one, why isn't Hashem destroying the whole world? Because we're supposed to have at least 36 tzaddikim, and apparently there's only 2. Number two, why are you listening to my shiur? If I'm a Rasha also, because I eat meat, then why are you listening to me? You're not allowed to listen to me. The Gemara says, Masechet Moed Katan, not allowed to listen to Rashaim. I eat meat. Does that make me a Rasha? No. So that's the thing. People don't do the calculations when they say these statements. And a lot of these people that are saying this, unfortunately, most of them are young people, but they're listening to mainly one or two famous speakers in the Hebrew language that have made a big stink about this. But I can tell you that none of Gedolei Israel have supported them about this. None. Nothing. No one, no big Gadol has supported them in this regards. They may have supported them in other things. They may have even gave them letters of recommendation about other things, but not in regards to this. Why? Because this is literally saying that the entire Jewish world, there is no righteous people among us. Everyone is a liar. Everyone is evil. And that you're simply not allowed to do. Unless you know for sure. And you don't. Neither do they. Nobody knows. You don't know what's happening behind closed doors. And again, it's not a livable type of circumstance. HaShem does not give us tests that we can't pass. So, finally, a person could go back and eat meat, or at the very least know that they're going to go to Gehenom for sure for believing Shem Ra. So, doesn't matter that they're keeping Shabbat or they learn Torah. They'll know they're going to Gehenom for a certain amount of time for believing Shem Ra. Whichever one a person wants to do, at least they go there knowingly. And they can't say, oh no, but I believe the rabbi. You just heard it otherwise. That you're making a mistake. Now, you could check further if you want a third opinion. But I would recommend going to Gdolei Ador. And I already did the job for you. None of them are going to agree with this. None of them are going to agree that you're not allowed to eat kosher food. So don't fall for the trap. Let's see. During your time on Wall Street, is there such a thing as a humble, wealthy individual? Yeah, of course. There are humble, wealthy individuals. Wealth does not necessarily make a person arrogant. It's their perception of wealth that before they even have money, that is going to make a person arrogant. I've met many people that were broker than anything, that were arrogant even though they had nothing to be arrogant about. They weren't exceptionally smart, they weren't exceptionally wealthy, they weren't exceptionally talented, but they were just arrogant people. And I've met some people that were not arrogant. So wealth does not make a person arrogant. Its character flaws are developed before a person acquires money. Certainly wealth can lead to a person becoming arrogant, but it doesn't start from scratch. Meaning they were already arrogant. It's just that the wealth, made it worse. It's they were already spiritually sick, and the wealth was more poison to make them sicker. But it's not. It's never the only thing. It's usually something that happened beforehand. Thoughts on day trading and drop shipping? Day trading, if you're doing it as a profession, meaning you're trading for other people and earning a fee, or you actually have a strategy rather than wishful thinking, you can make it a job. It's allowed as a job. It's just that it is a fool's errand. The overwhelming majority of traders ultimately lose a lot more than they win because trading in the market, even world experts in finances that run major hedge funds all know that it's better to simply invest in just the S&P 500 over a long period of time, and you'll make a lot more than traders do. Now, there are some exceptions to the case, but they're so few and far in between that it's like a statistical anomaly to be a successful trader if it's just trading your own money. The people that have succeeded in trading are like Simons, that had a hedge fund that was averaging 60% a year for, I think, 20 years or something like that. Cohen, that eventually got, his hedge fund shut down because of insider trading, but he was an exceptional trader, and now he has a family office. And there's a couple of others that were good traders, but these are people that were, there were superstars of superstars. The average person is nowhere near, doesn't have the tools that they do, and it's, the chances of you succeeding in trading are very limited. Plus, it's not exactly the most ideal job because it's consuming. It consumes a lot of your time. It makes it very difficult to study Torah. It makes it very difficult to live a normal life. It's very high highs and low lows. So it's not really a healthy job. Can you do it? You can, technically, but it could be problematic, especially if you don't actually have a strategy and you're just pretty much wishful thinking type of trading. You would just assume that just because the stock went up $1 yesterday, it's more likely to go down today. And you just assume that just because the stock has the momentum in the last 5 days, the momentum should continue. It's not really a strategy. And that makes it more likely that you'll end up losing all your money. And it also makes it more like gambling, which goes into the field of possibly forbidden. Gambling in itself is always forbidden, but possible gambling is, it depends. It has to be evaluated. But generally speaking, I was on Wall Street for almost 20 years. I didn't meet many successful traders. Investors, yes. Traders, no. As far as dropshipping is a completely different field. Dropshipping is an actual business. If you are good at finding products and you, or you are at the very least have some type of access to products, it's certainly something you can make a living off of. It takes time, takes some capital, but it's certainly something that you can make a living on. A lot of people are making a living, and even more than just a living off of it. All this stuff that people say about, drop shipping is no good anymore, or this is no good anymore, that people used to make money out of it, that's all nonsense. Don't ever believe people that say that there's no way to make money in any particular field. There are people that are making millions with dog food, and there are people losing millions with the money business. And there are people that are doing the exact opposite in both. That are losing millions in some and making millions in some. Meaning that HaKadosh Baruch Hu decides who's going to succeed and who's going to fail. But as far as the viability of the business itself, whether it be drop shipping or it's giving consulting work, or it's working for Fortune 500 companies and building your way up over the next 30 years, or it's providing any type of expertise, you can make money in almost anything. How much money you're going to make, that HaShem decides. But as far as the viability of the businesses, there are more opportunities that are viable today than any other time in history, just because of the expense in technology as well as in the consumer base. Meaning that there are more possibilities of things to do because there's more demand for different things, but also there's more customers today. Not because there's more population, but rather because there is worldwide trade. There's worldwide trade. You can sell to a customer in China, in a matter of 5 minutes, and he can sell you in a matter of 5 minutes. You couldn't do that, 100 years ago without traveling there or them traveling here. Now it's just a click of a button. So there's more consumers. The consumer base is continuing to grow as more and more economies join the worldwide economy, and or at least give access to their economy, meaning that you can go and travel to some of these countries like India or different parts of Asia and actually do business there, or bring the business back to wherever you live and actually make a good living from that. Point being is, you can make money from working at home. You can make money by traveling. You can make money selling jets. You can make money selling nets. You could make money in a lot of different things. How much money you're going to make, that HaShem decides. But as far as viability of the business, there are endless amount of opportunities out there. My recommendation is not necessarily to go where you like a lot of people recommend. Go do what you love. I don't necessarily think that's you need to love your job. You just need to not hate it and do something that's going to be the most profitable. Not hate it and do something that's most profitable. Doing what you love doesn't necessarily mean profitable. Doing what you love, it can mean going bankrupt. Doing what you love sometimes in business is the worst thing in the world. Why? Because sometimes you'll go bankrupt because you love it. So don't do what you love. Do what you don't necessarily hate and is the most profitable, the best use of time. The best use of time, and gives you the most amount of freedom of time when possible. That's what you need in a viable business. A viable business. You don't necessarily need to love it. I think people that say that you need to love your job are stupid. It's just a stupid thing to say. Should a person go to college to be successful? Nowadays, many professions require a degree. It's not true at all. There are many professions that always required a degree, but there's nothing that's there's no more today than there was in the past. In fact, it's the opposite. There's less need for a degree today than any other time in history. There are endless amount of people that are making a fortune by creating applications, having all types of entertainment or media types of things on YouTube and TikTok and all of this social networking. There are over 550,000 people in the world today that are worth over $30 million, which is considered ultra high net worth. There are extraordinarily wealthy people in the world, and I promise you, there's more of them that do not have a degree than there are those that do have a degree. Now, is getting a degree necessary? Depends on what field you need to go to. If you're going to go into the medical, accounting, legal professions that require a degree, then it's a rhetorical question. But if you're talking about fields that you could actually learn the skill set either through experience or through professional schools that are not necessarily universities, you can go to a some type of school that teaches that expertise or course, then it's definitely better to do that than to go and waste $250,000 on university and 4 to 8 years of your life, when you could do all of that in a matter of 6 months to a year, if not less. I personally think that the vast majority of people attending college are wasting their money. And by vast majority, I mean literally overwhelming vast majority. Let's see. Shalom, Rabbi. I hear that each part of our body have a correspondence with a specific sephirah. In the case that someone has an issue, why isn't this thing working? With the cervical, what would be the sephirah on how to fix it in order to heal? I'm not a Kabbalist, so I don't know the corresponding body parts to this sefirot. Sorry. You have to go to a Kabbalist, and perhaps they could help you. Can a person who suffers with a lot of pain use cannabis in order to release the pain? Yes, but you could. It's better to use something that's not going to make you high. Some people have recommended what is it called, CBD, because it doesn't make you high. Other research that some people have told me about, I haven't read it myself, I've said that CBD is worse in certain ways than actually the part that makes you high. Again, I can't vouch for either one, but if it's the only thing that can help you with pain is cannabis that makes you high, you're allowed to use it. But if there is something else that you can use that does not make you high, then you're obligated to use something that does not make you high. Can a holy person be someone who doesn't care about money, renounce money, live simply, or someone who gains a lot of money in order to help others, or both? A holy person could be someone extremely wealthy, like Rabbi Yehuda Nasi and Rabbi Akiva, and a holy person could be somebody extraordinarily poor, like Rabbi Hanina. The money is not going to be the deciding factor if somebody is holy or not. Their actions are. Their perspective of money is going to decide whether they're holy or not. Let's see. What is worse according to the Torah and society? Immodest acts and behavior or LGBT degeneracy? They're both the same. They're both considered immodesty and perversion. Good evening, Rabbi Reuven. What would you suggest for an incoming yeshiva bachur going from public school to a yeshiva as a new convert? What would I suggest for an incoming yeshiva bachur going from public school to a yeshiva as a new convert? What would I suggest for them as far as what? As far as what to learn? Well, first, obviously, they should, learn the things that helped them thus far, which is the halacha of day-to-day life, the Mussar, the weekly parasha. These are all things the person has to continue with their whole life. As far as further learning, it all depends on the type of yeshiva they're going to go to. Usually the yeshiva is going to keep them pretty occupied with Gemara. And my recommendation is that they get themselves a art scroll Gemara, at first, that they're also going to learn with and do the review when they're home. Because not all yeshivot are going to permit him to use a art scroll Gemara at the yeshiva, because they want him to learn the language and they want him to learn how to understand the Gemara, rather than the explanation of certain things by art scroll. So they don't want people to use it, even though it's a mistake, even though it's against what Gedolei Hador have said. Needless to say, the tradition is, for most places, that they don't allow art scroll. But I would still recommend that he gets art scroll and just simply uses it at home. But as far as if the yeshiva allows him to have art scroll, then he should definitely have art scroll. And like I said, continue learning the things that have helped him thus far, which is the basics of Judaism, which is the weekly parasha with commentary, Mussar, halacha. Certainly, you can watch all of our shiurim to learn, Mussar, to learn the weekly parasha, sometimes halacha as well. So you can watch our shiurim as well to do that. Okay, let's see. Let's see what's. Okay, let me see if there's any more. All right. Is a man allowed to wear cologne for Kavod Shabbat? If a man wears deodorant, it's already enough. If he wants to wear a little bit of cologne, it's okay, but it's before Shabbat, obviously. And honestly, I don't really understand why guys think that they need cologne for any reason. Number one, it's many times people overdo it, and they become more of a problem for people around them than a pleasure. Number two, if a person is doing it for the sake of being attractive, you should know, scientifically speaking, that your sweat is actually more attractive than cologne to a woman. Meaning even the bad sweat, the one that smells bad, is more attractive to a woman, not because people enjoy bad smells. Scientifically speaking, they've proven this, that the smell of the man, of his original smell, is more attractive to his wife than any cologne out there. So, again, I mean, it's not necessary. You want to do it, put something before Shabbat, by all means, but it's just don't put too much. How should I maintain my relationship with my parents now, as I'm getting older? And if the person is a Jew, honoring your parents is an obligation from a Torah, but honoring your parents doesn't mean sacrifice your life and destroy your marriage or not get married. You have to, honor your parents based on the laws of the Torah. If they ask you to help them with something that's within your ability to do it, by all means. There's no obligation to give them your money, but if they're poor and you're rich, then certainly you should help them. But as far as spending time with them, it's a within reason, as long as it does not cause you problems with Shlom Beit, and it does not cause you to go against HaShem in any way. That's, and certainly a person should honor their parents, should stay in touch with their parents, and, call them at least once a week, say hello. But it's, if you live far away from them, it's not possible to go visit them regularly. If you have a life, if you have kids, you have a career, it's not possible to go visit them every week. Now, if they live close to you and you have a good relationship with them, you want to go visit them once a week, twice a week, by all means, you can. But if they cause you problems every time you see them, then obviously that's, it's better for you to move away. Now, for non-Jews that are converting to Judaism or just converted already to Judaism, it's a little bit more problematic because many times the parents are still believe the religion that they grew up with, meaning that while you have adopted, and have acquired yourself in eternity by converting to Judaism and following the Torah, they unfortunately still believe idolatry. Now, the fact that they believe idolatry is not just a problem for them, but it could also be a problem for you if they try to preach it to you. So going to visit them is much more problematic, meaning that if you go visit them, you have to stay at a hotel. You can't eat their food. You have to make sure that there's kosher restaurants around. There are a lot of things that you can't do that they like to do. They maybe like to go to the beach. You can't go to the beach. That's full of perversion and so on. They like to go to the movies. You can't go to the movies, right? Because it's also full of perversion. They like to have a barbecue and roast a pig. You can't roast a pig. So there's a lot of things that you can't do. There are certain things that you can do, and you have to find some type of neutral thing, neutral ground to keep yourself somewhat connected. But I can tell you this from experience that the more a person is, busy serving Hashem, the less time they're going to have for everybody that is not in their immediate circle of responsibility, of connection, such as your spouse and your children. So that there's less time to see even, your parents, even if they're good parents. There's less time to have friends, even if they're good friends. There's just simply less time. Why? Because you're busy serving Hashem. You're busy doing the things that you need to do in life. Now, I know some people are more social than others. They almost feel like they need to be next to people. And by all means, as long as the people that you're around, whether it be your parents that are Jewish or not Jewish, as long as they are not trying to influence you to go against Hashem, or they're not just simply putting you in a position where you feel inclined to go against Hashem more than otherwise because of their surroundings, then there's no problem staying in touch. But don't stop your life. Don't stop your life. Don't stop yourself from getting married. Don't stop yourself from having kids. Don't stop your life from moving closer to a Jewish community, from going to learn Torah, just because you think that you're honoring your parents by keeping yourself back. You're not honoring your parents by that. You're just simply damaging yourself. So a person needs to serve Hashem first more than anything else. Serving Hashem certainly is part of doing it is also honoring your parents, but that means so long as honoring your parents is not causing a lack in serving Hashem. You not getting married is certainly a lack in serving Hashem, because you have a mitzvah, especially if you're a man, that's connected to serving Hashem. Bringing children to the world, the kedusha between a husband and a wife, and so on. So you're not getting married because of parents are old and you think you need to take care of them or something like that. No. You not having kids because you feel like you need to take care of your parents, and you don't think that you could do that. Raise kids with your husband and also take care of your parents, so you decide not to have kids. Mistake. That's not the will of Hashem. The will of Hashem is for you to have kids. The will of Hashem is for you to have kids. Who's going to take care of my parents? If you could still do it, do it. If not, get somebody else to do it. Again, there's no obligation to stop your life in order in order to help your parents. I mean, certainly honoring them is important, but it's not at the cost of your life. It's not the cost of your obligation. So I would highly recommend people to discuss with their rabbis, big decisions like that. Either, decisions like not getting married, not having kids, not moving closer to a Jewish community, or learning Torah, before they make such decisions, and speak to a competent rabbi, not one of these people that's like, waiting for your parents to die so they could give them the money of the inheritance. Like a competent rabbi that knows halacha and knows what's responsible, has a responsible take on Judaism, and not just a lovey-dovey nonsense. But like I said, in honoring your parents, important. Stopping your life, unacceptable. Okay. Can a non-Jew kid that is in the process of conversion do a bar mitzvah? I don't understand the question. I mean, a bar mitzvah means you're accepting the mitzvot on you. If the person is not Jewish, he cannot accept the mitzvot upon him. He can't convert himself. So, if they understand what bar mitzvah means you become an owner of the mitzvot. You're taking the mitzvot upon yourself. But you can't as long as you're not Jewish. So, if they want to have a party and just feed a bunch of strangers and get some guy with a Harley Davidson to drive in, they don't have to call it bar mitzvah. They just call it a party. But if they want to do a bar mitzvah, they have to be Jewish. At the very least, they need to know what a bar mitzvah is. But not just to create things just because they want to feel Jewish. Many people do that, and it creates problems. People that are in the process of conversion get so acclimated to the Jewish life that they lose momentum when it comes to actually converting, which ends up causing them to take longer for conversion. They don't have as much enthusiasm because they already feel Jewish. It's a mistake that a lot of people make. They already go to the synagogue, they already pray, they already, go to shiurim. So they feel like, so what? Okay, I don't have the certificate, but I already feel like my neshama is Jewish. It's a stupid statements like that cause people to end up losing their eternity. But a lot of people do it. So I always tell people, if you're in a process of conversion, do everything you possibly can to keep yourself uncomfortable until you convert. Until you convert. Make sure that you're doing everything possible to keep yourself enthusiastic about conversion. Now, it's more problematic to do that when you have a family involved. Meaning, if you're alone, you're a single guy, you're a single girl, it's easier to keep yourself motivated and to take less time converting because all you have to do is just take care of yourself. But when you have a family involved, even if you're extremely motivated, if your spouse or kids are not motivated, it becomes much, much more difficult. The journey is much more difficult, but generally speaking, there's no need for a person to break up their family for the sake of conversion. They just need to be patient and use that time while everybody else is getting up to speed. Use that time to keep everybody motivated and use that time to learn more and do more that they can, that's within their power at the time while they're still in the process of conversion. Okay, let's see. I think we've answered all the questions today. Yeah, Baruch Hashem. Okay. Baruch Hashem, we've answered all the questions. May Hashem bless each and every single one of you that's learning, that's sharing, that's being inspired. Anyone that wants to donate can go to our website, BeEzratHashem.org or BHTorah.org, or you could donate on our app, the BeEzrat Hashem app. There's a lot of new developments on the BH Torah website that are being added as we speak. If you go to the questions section, you go to the discover section, there's a lot of amazing new features over there. We're going to talk more extensively about them next week, BeEzrat Hashem, but there's a lot of really cool stuff on our websites, new features, and a lot more projects that are on the way that BeEzrat Hashem will help Am Yisrael get closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to publicize HaKadosh Baruch Hu's name, and know that He is the one and only God, not only in our eyes, but in the eyes of everyone that we have access to, because we've tried our best to inspire them. Thank you very much for learning with me. May HaKadosh Baruch Hu bless all of you. BeEzrat Hashem, we'll see each other and learn together next week. Kol Tov. Asked him, what can we do to protect ourselves from Chavrei Mashiach? He says, Torah and Gemilut Chasadim. Even if somebody does a nice thing or learns a lot or anything like that, it's never compared to bringing one of Hashem's lost kids that's been lost for the last 3,000 years back home. One of the beautiful things that we have in our organization is that we have both Torah and Zikuy Rabim, because we have our kollels, we have our avrechim, and we also have our kiruv that we do around the world. Our lectures reach every corner of the world, Baruch Hashem, in multiple languages, but of course, we always want to do even more.
תות היו רגלינו בשערייך ירושלים, למעמד הנשגב והמרומם של סיום הש"ס, זוהר והשולחן ערוך, שעל ידי ארגון בעזרת השם העולמי.
יכול להיות שעכשיו אנחנו נשמע את השופר של המשיח.
נמצא איתנו כאן האורח מפלורידה, יושב ראש הארגון, מזכה הרבים, הרב ירון ראובן.
בעזרת השם כולנו נעשה ונצליח ונגדל בתורה ונזכה את הרבים ונעשה כבוד שמיים כמו שצריך.
אתם עמלי התורה, תמשיכו, תהיו אור גדול.
שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני
הזדמנות שאני מברך את הרב ירון ראובן שהוא זכה את הרבים ומחזיק תורה בעם ישראל בארץ וגם בתפוצות. אשריו ואשריך לכו, שימשיך עוד לעשות כאלה וכאלה. זכות גדולה מאוד שהוא מחזיק תורה בעם ישראל.
טוב, ש"סים נוספו הערב לעם ישראל,
לכבודה של תורה, להרמת קרנה של תורה, וכל הדברים הללו ברוך השם הודות לידידנו יושב ראש הארגון שעוד לא ידע את ההפתעה שתכננתי לו.
While we have kiruv work that we've done throughout the whole year, we also have the Torah that we're constantly producing more and more of, and last but not least, the chesed to feed the poor people in Israel.
A very special thank you to all our amazing guests who show real Ahavat Israel by taking the time out of their busy schedule and sharing their ups and downs with us, all for the sake of Am Yisrael.
ארגון בעזרת השם הולך לחלק מאות סלי מזון בכל רחבי הארץ.
One of the big things that we have, aside from this campaign, you probably see this poster or something similar to it, is also we published some of the recent results that we have, or at least up to now, of the organization. And one of the reasons why we do this each year is because we want to make sure that our partners, our donors, our Talmidim know where their money is going. Unlike everybody else that, says a lot, does a lot, we want to show you what these results are. I can tell you from my experience and a little bit of knowledge about the whole Torah world, I don't know of anybody else, any other organization on planet Earth that produces dollar for dollar what we've produced over these last few years. This is nothing to be arrogant about. It's simply siyata d'shmaya. Kadosh Baruch Hu helped us. We made every sacrifice that we can possibly make in order to make it happen. Producing nearly 300 films, publishing 32 books, our own books, giving out 154,000 books for free. Giving out 154,000 books is not a cheap endeavor. Anyone that wants to do such a thing has to be completely committed to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to his children, and most importantly, to have bitachon in HaKadosh Baruch Hu and his Torah. We also have fed over 160,000 people over these last several years. Each year, during Pesach, the high holidays, throughout the year, we help a lot of people eat, help make sure that they have groceries, food, all types of things. And you guys have seen many of the videos that we've produced over the years to actually show you the people that are getting this food. You have here 160,000 people have eaten, nearly 300 Torah films. And then on top of all of it, we have 1.4 million USB, CDs, and cards that have been giving out for free. All of the work that we've done over the last 10 years on these USBs given out for free. Last but not least, 12,000 video and audio lectures available online in about 14 different languages for the world to watch for free.
הרבי ירון ראובן, הרבי אפרים כחלון, נשאר גבוה בעזרת השם, שעלו מעלה, גדל ברכה והצלחה. זאת מוכרים בלב משאלות ליבה, בתורה ובברכה. וכל אשר יתנו, תזכירו וירציון. תזכירו לעשות כאלה וכאלה, ותהיו תורה להגרה, בין והבין.
ארגון בעזרת השם לקח על עצמו את אחת המטרות הקשות ביותר בדור שלנו, לתקן עולם במלכות שדי. לא להסתפק במשהו אחד, לעזור רק לאנשים מסכנים, רק לאנשים ניצולי שואה, רק לאנשים שלא מכירים את אלוקים, רק לאנשים שאין להם כלום בבית, אלא לעזור לכלל ישראל בכל מכל. וברוך השם, חפץ השם בידינו הצליח. למעלה ממיליון יהודים ויהודיות נעזרו על ידי ארגון בעזרת השם. רק תדמיינו לכם איזה עוצמה היה לכל אחד ואחת מהשותפים שזכו להיות כל אחד כפי כוחו ויכולתו, לאיזה תוצאות הצליחו להגיע ולאיזה תוצאות עוד יצליחו.
פורים שמח על לראות את השלטים, נעלה עכשיו למעלה, תנועה קצת, את האש, את הלימוד. ברוכים הבאים, אפשר לראות כאן כולם יושבים לומדים, איזה רעש של תורה, איזה רעש, והנה יש פה עוד בית מדרש, וגם פה יש, השם הכל עמוס. פורים שמח.
הדמיון הזה הוא לא דמיון כל כך רחוק, כי כמו שהתורה אומרת, בפיך ובלבבך לעשותו, ככה גם בדבר הזה. כל מי שירצה, כל מי שרוצה או רוצה להיות שותפים איתנו, עם הארגון הקדוש והנפלא הזה, שכל כוונתו לשם שמיים, להגדיל תורה ולהאדירה, להרים קרן התורה, לעזור לכל אחד ואחד מעם ישראל, בכל העניינים, כל המישורים, מהילד הכי קטן שצריך מטרנה וטיטולים, עד האיש הכי מבוגר שלעולם לא הניח תפילין, ורגע לפני המוות דואגים להניח לו תפילין. אם גם אתם רוצים להיות שותפים בכאלה דברים גדולים בעשייה של תורה ועבודה וגמילות חסדים, ברוך השם, ארגון בעזרת השם כאן לצדכם, לשירותכם, יחד עם כלל ישראל.
כמעט 1.5 מיליון דיסקים, דיסקונקים שחילקנו, כל הדברים האלה בחינם, יותר מ-12,000 שיעורים. אז כל הדברים האלה, מתי שבן אדם רואה כמה ההשקעה שלו, אם זה בבתים, מניות, בכל מיני דברים, והוא רואה שהמניה עלתה 10% במקום אחד ו1,000% במקום שני, אז הוא מבין איפה להשקיע פעם הבאה. ואותו דבר פה, יש הרבה אנשים שברוך השם צופים את השיעורים שלנו, שיעורים של הרב אפרים, שיעורים של הרב שרביט ושאר הרבנים בארגון, ועכשיו זה הזמן להיות שותפים בדבר הגדול שאנחנו עושים ברוך השם.
After somebody dies, their neshama naturally feels like it needs to be cleaned and like it needs to go to Gehenom to go and clean itself so it could feel better after.
And one of the reasons why we do this, why we show these numbers, is because we want to show everyone what we've done to give you an indication of what we can do in the future. So this is the time where we need as much of your help as possible to push yourself more than you typically do. If you typically donate a couple $100, donate 1,000. If you could afford the 8,000, 15,000, 50,000, whatever you could afford, this is the time to do it, because this is going to be the help that we have to help all of these avrachim, to feed these people, and perhaps BeEzrat HaShem one day to get that building that we've been wanting to build here in the United States, to build a community. But all of these things require millions of dollars. If not now, then when?